دستم به خوابه گل پرپرم بالو پر میزنی ای علی اصغرم ناله هات برد صبر و قرار از حرم لالایی.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الباسفين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن يبتغي غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is the 9th majlis on the night of Ta'asura, on the night of Ashura, and the day of Ta'asura that we just passed. And we grieve as it is a very difficult night for the Ahl Haram, the household of Sayyid al-Shuhada. It's the last night that they're all together. Tomorrow at this moment, they will not be together like this. Tomorrow at this time, all the men who are guarding the tents, who are around and in the surroundings, with their presence, how women can feel comfort and the children can go to sleep, even in that desert. They will no longer be with them. Tonight is the last night for the ashab of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Tonight is the night when Imam brings all the tents closer. And Imam sends Abu al-Fazl Abbas to go tell Pesar Saad that we want one more night to go ahead and do worship and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He consults with his own companions. And they say that even for people from the Daylam, if they were to ask us for muhlat, we would give. This is the grandson of the Holy Prophet. We don't see any issue in giving permission or one more night's time. I usually say that Imam did not ask for time. Imam instead gave them time. Gave them time to ponder and think about the atrocity they're about to commit. And don't think this time that Imam had given was in vain. History tells us that there were many who made their hijrat from the camp of Umar Saad to the camp of Imam Hussain. More famous or most famous amongst them is Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, along with his son. And Tariq tells us there were others who also came. But still, this night is a very tough night. Imam, he's visiting all of the tents. He's going around and looking into the tents of his ashab. All he sees is that ashab are reviving their allegiance to Sayyid al-Shuhada. When Imam visits the tents of The children of Banu Hashim, Imam sees that the elders are telling the kids and the children that be ready tomorrow when your turn comes. And then when Imam goes towards the tents of the women of this family, he sees that the women of this family are also making sure that their kids are ready. Zainab is preparing Aun and Muhammad. Farwa is advising Qasim that when your turn comes tomorrow, don't be shy. Mother of Ali Akbar is telling him that tomorrow is your big test. And then Imam comes about a tent where he hears a lady weep and cry. And that was his sister Kulthum. Imam enters along with Abul Fazl Abbas and he asks her, "Oh, my sister, may I be ransomed for you? What is it that's making you cry?" She says, "Oh, my brother, every lady has a sacrifice for you ready tomorrow, except me. Who am I going to sacrifice and present as a sacrifice for you?" At this moment, Abul Fazl Abbas steps forward and he says that, "Oh, Kulthum, you can sacrifice me on your brother." Imam spent the entire night reciting the Quran and performing the salat. Inni uhibbu salat, Imam said. And similar was heard from the other tents as well. These are the individuals, brothers and sisters, who know that tomorrow they will all be dead. But as we've been mentioning the messages from Ashura, this death is preferred over life. This death does not bother them one bit. They're reaffirmed by saying, if we were given life 1,000 times, we will not second question our determination to sacrifice ourselves for Imam Hussain. That's when Imam had taken the test of his companions, right? On this very night of Ashura, Imam asked all of his companions and he offered them something. He said, "They are after my blood and they have nothing to do with you. Therefore, I remove my hujjat from you so that you may go. You're free to go. You don't have to be bound to stay with me. And because you might be ashamed of leaving, I'll turn off the lamp." Chiraghi ke unja bood, Imam turned it off. And then after a while, when Imam turned it back on, he saw that all of the ashab are intact. No one has moved. And then Imam gave a khutbah. He said that indeed my ashab are better than the ashab of the Holy Prophets. Indeed, my ashab are better than the ashab of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Afdal wa awfa. They're more loyal and they're superior to the ashab of the Holy Prophet and Amir al-Mu'mineen. I've been bestowed and given such ashab that no one else has ever been given. And then Imam narrates or recites a khutbah at that time. Imam alayhi wasalam, he speaks. He says, "Allahumma inni ahmaduka an akramtana bin nubuwah." Oh Allah, we praise you that you honored us with nubuwwat in our family. وَفَقَّهْتَنَا فِي الدِّينِ, and you gave us the ability to think and ponder on our religion and our deen. وَعَلَّمْتَنَا الْقُرْآنِ, and you taught us this Quran. وَجَعَلْتَ لَنَا أَبْصَارًا وَأَسْمَاعًا وَأَفْئِدَةً, and you created for us these eyes through which we can see, these ears through which we can hear, and these hearts. And we're grateful to you. He says, فَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ, and make us amongst those who are grateful and thankful servant of yours. My question to all my listeners: when are you thankful and grateful? Usually, when you receive a gift from someone, your family members are visiting you, they come and they bring you some sort of gift. What do you say? Thank you. I'm grateful for your generosity, or your gift. Someone donates to your center, you say thank you. We're grateful for your generosity. So graciousness or gratitude is shown in front of a gift, a favor, a ni'mat. Now let's compare this with the sacrifice which Quran mentions as dhibh azim, the sacrifice of Hazrat Ismail alayhi salatu wassalam. Hazrat Ibrahim, he sees a dream when his son was old enough to help him. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ, he says to him that, "Oh my son, إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى." I see in my dream that I'm slaughtering you. Dhibh means to slaughter. فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى, what is your opinion? We know that the dream of a Nabi is hujjat of Allah, it's a wahi. And he doesn't need to consult the revelation and wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But still he asks Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Ismail, فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى, what is your opinion? That tells us that our elders need to trust our youngsters. When Ibrahim والسلام, receives a wahi, he's trusting his son, who's probably 15, 20 years old, not more than that, not even more than 15. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ means maybe he's 15, 16 years old. He's trusting him that, "Oh my son, I saw a dream. What is your opinion?" Not that your opinion in this area is needed, because it's the wahi of Allah, but showing confidence, giving responsibility to his son, who's going to be, or who's a Nabi himself. The response that Hazrat Ismail gave, all of you know, this is the ayat of Quran. He says, "Ya abati, if'al ma tu'mar, satajiduni insha'Allahu minas sabirin." Oh my father, do as you have been commanded. If'al satajiduni insha'Allahu minas sabirin. You will find me amongst those who are sabirin, those who show patience over calamities. He said that, and Hazrat Ibrahim took his son with him. He brought his son to the place which was chosen for the sacrifice. He lays him down. There's a conversation between the father and the son. There's a visitation of Shaitan, who first tried to convince Hazrat Ismail that your father, na'udhu billah, has gone mad. He wants to kill you. Don't give in. Hazrat Ismail recognized you could not be more than anything but Shaitan, who's calling a Nabi of Allah to be insane. He could not penetrate into the mind of Hazrat Ismail. Then he went and tried to convince mother of Hazrat Ismail, because mothers, their hearts are soft. Went to Hazrat Hajar and he said, your husband has gone mad. He's going to kill your son. What did he tell you that he's taking your son to? And she was strong as well. She said, you must be shaitan who's doubting the wahi and the revelation and the command of a Nabi. Go away. And then he came and tried to convince Hazrat Ibrahim to let go of what he was about to do. And of course, Hazrat Ibrahim was the strongest of all, did not pay heed to any single word of shaitan. These are the three shayateen that you strike in Mina. When you go to Hajj, one of the arkan of Hajj is what? That you strike shaitan. And there are three pillars. There's shaitan, there's a jamara ula, wusta, and uqba. And these three shayateen are to be struck with 7 pebbles each. Of course, these are just, representing the inner shaitan that we have inside of us. And they are representing, of course, these 3 shayateen visited Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Hajar, and Hazrat Ismail, convincing them not to do what they were about to do. Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ, Hazrat Ismail ﷺ, and Hazrat Hajar salamullah alayha, they all disregarded what the shaitan was telling them. And Hazrat Ismail and Hazrat Ibrahim went to perform this amal. As they arrive at this place, there's a conversation that takes place between father and the son. The son says to the father that, oh, my father, put, a blindfold on my face, on my eyes, so that you don't see my eyes and look into my eyes when you are performing this action. It is possible that your fatherly love may come in and you may not perform this action. Secondly, he said, oh, my father, make sure that this ihram of yours, you flip it over. So when the blood gushes out, it does not dirty your clothes. And then also he asked him that don't show this knife and this neck of mine to my mother, because she will not be able to bear the pain of it. All of this is the discussion between the father and the son. Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ does whatever he could, and then he begins this amal. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaced Hazrat Ismail with an animal. And he said to Hazrat Ibrahim, لَقَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا. O Ibrahim, you fulfilled the promise. And we did not want you to really kill your son. We just wanted to see that you're not attached to him more than you are attached to us, and that you're willing to sacrifice him at any time, and you're willing to detach him from yourself. This was referred to as بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ, the greatest sacrifice, which did not even take place, but it was symbolic, and it became part of the Hajj rituals. I want to bring you back to the khutbah of Imam Hussain on the night of Ashura, when he says, فَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. And I want to take you to the ayat of Quran where Hazrat Ismail says, مِنَ الصَّابِرِينَ. You have 2 words, sabirin and shakirin, which are plural. Sabirin comes from sabr, or sabir, the one who's patient. Shakirin comes from shukr, or shakir, the one who's thankful. What is the difference between sabir and shakir? Sabir, the one who's patient, is the one who shows patience in front of what? When do you tell someone to have sabr? When they are, when they have won something, when they've achieved something, when they receive a gift. No, you tell someone to have sabr when they have lost something, when something has been taken away from them, when someone loses a loved one, when someone's father dies, mother passes away, husband dies, wife dies, children pass away. You go up to that person and you say, what? May Allah give you sabr on this difficult time that you're going through. May Allah give you patience to bear with the pain that you're going through. So my question, brothers and sisters, is that when do you perform this sabr? This sabr is usually warranted in front of a calamity, a musibah. When you lose someone, it's a musibah. When you're afflicted with an illness, it's a musibah. When someone dies, it's a musibah. You say, have patience. Hazrat Ismail said, oh Allah, oh my father, do as you've been commanded. You will find me amongst sabirin. That means Hazrat Ismail is perceiving this sacrifice as what? As musibah. Because that's why he said, you'll find me amongst those who do sabr. Sabr is done in front of a musibah. Now come to the night of Ashura. Remember that musibah, that sacrifice which didn't even take place. Hazrat Ismail was not killed, was not slaughtered. He came back alive. And the night of Ashura, Imam is saying what? فَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. Oh Allah, you've given us this, you've given us that, you've given us this, you've given us that. You gave us nubuwwat, you gave us Quran, you gave us fiqh, you gave us eyes, ears, heart. فَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. Allah will be killed tomorrow. The martyrdom will be attained by every single one of us. Make us amongst those who are shukr guzar, those who are thankful, those who do tashakkur, those who are gracious to you. My question again, when do you do shukr? In front of a ni'mat. What is about to happen tomorrow? Everyone will be martyred. Everyone will be killed. Everyone will give sacrifice. Everyone will be slaughtered. Imam Hussein's view of this martyrdom or this sacrifice, Hazrat Ismail's view of that sacrifice, look at the difference between the two. Hazrat Ismail was looking at that sacrifice as a musibah. Imam Hussain is looking at this sacrifice as a ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when he's looking at it from this aspect of ni'mat, he says, oh Allah, make us amongst those who are thankful. Because this is the ni'mat you have chosen us for it. And no one else has been chosen for this musibah, for this martyrdom. This is where we need to align with the messages of Ashura, of the thinking of Sayyid Shuhada, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. The ayat which I recited, I won't have time to go in the depths of it. But luckily I will have time after tomorrow to complete this discussion. But just a little explanation of the ayat, and inshallah I'll bring you toward the musibah of the youngest shaheed of this battlefield, the young son of Imam Hussain Ali Asghar, also known as Abdullah al-Radi. The ayat which I chose for tonight's discussion for an important topic, ayat number 85 from Surah Al-Imran, which says, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. That whoever, should anyone follow a religion other than Islam, it shall never be accepted from him, and he shall be amongst the losers in the hereafter. Which brings me to the topic of deen and our duties toward this deen. Why must we follow this deen? And then once we have agreed to follow this deen, what is it that we must perform that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects us to do as far as this deen is concerned? Do we have some sort of responsibility towards it? Or we are amongst those who will just follow what we've been commanded, and we'll take care of ourselves, because every single one of us will enter our own graves and we don't need to worry about anyone else. That's the wrong notion. Islam is not an individualistic deen. Islam is not infiradi. Islam is not fardan fardan. Islam is not for, single person. Islam wants ijtima'iyat. Islam wants you to be social. Islam wants you to be engaged with others. Therefore, you don't find this concept in any other deen. Amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. You don't find this concept in any other deen. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. That when Allah says, by the Asr, every single person is at loss, except إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who brought Iman, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and those who performed Amal Salih. Did he stop over there? That everyone is at loss. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. He should have just said, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَالسَّلَامُ. And be like, yes, we got Iman. We believe in Allah, we believe in the Prophet, we believe in the Imams, we believe in the Quran, we believe in all of those things which are need to be believed in. And we do Amal Salih, so we believe in Salat, we believe in Sawm, we believe in Hajj, we believe in all of these other Zakat and Khums, Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi and Munkar, Tawalla, Tabarra, and all of those things. So we don't need to do anything, right? Allah said, Iman, Amal Salih, wa tawasaw bil haqq, wa tawasaw bis sabr. Don't think that you're alone in this deen. You need to make sure that others are along with you. You need to make sure that you bring others along with you. That's why وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. Make sure that you enjoin one another in truth, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and you enjoin one another in patience. That's salat that we perform 5 times a day. And twice in each salat, we recite Surah Fatiha. And in the Surah Fatiha, we say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. It is you we worship. It is you we seek assistance from. Imagine you're standing all by yourself for Salatul Fajr. It's dark. You don't even bother anyone else. Quietly, silently, you're praying the Salat. Quietly in the sense that you're not disturbing others, but you should recite it bil jahar. And what do you say in the darkness of this night? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You're by yourself. There's no one else. You're alone. Why are you using sigha jam? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. We worship you. We seek assistance from you. Allah wants ijtima'. He wants ijtima'iyat. He wants congregation. He does not want individuals doing things. He wants you to do things in congregation. There's so many benefits that are associated with doing things in congregation. When you do something in congregation, there's so much thawab that you can't even imagine. A salat which is performed in jama'at is bound to be accepted. You can't tell if the salat that you perform all your life individually, furada, if Allah accepted it. But the salat which is done in jama'at, riwayat mentions that that is definitely accepted. Even if there is defect in that salat. And then the riwayah says that if there are 2 people in the jama'at, you don't need to have a big jama'at. If there are only 2 people, one imam, one following, there's 70-fold reward of the salat. He said if there are 3 people, then it's doubled. If it's 4 people, then it's 500-fold sawab. If it's 5 people, then it's 1,000-fold sawab. If it's 6 people, then it's doubled. If it's 7 people, then it's doubled. When it's 8 people, then it's doubled. When it's 9 people, then it's doubled. When it's 10 people, Riwayah says there's no way of counting the thawab of that salat. If Allah was to gather all of the angels and all the water in the world would become the ink, and all the trees, their branches will be cut and become pen, they were to ascribe the reward of this salat where there are 10 people in jama'at, they won't be able to write it down. There's no way of enumerating and putting a number of the reward of the salat which is performed with 10 people. So why 10? What is so significant about 10? Why did the riwayah go up to 10? Did they only know the, counting up to 10? No. But 10 is a specific number. One of the mufassirin, he mentioned, how many fingers do you have? Normal people have 10. How many toes do you have? Usually you have 10. Forget the toes, fingers. Imagine if out of these 10 fingers that you see on my 2 hands, if I only had 1, what will I be able to do? If all of my other fingers were chopped, what can I do with this 1 finger? Nothing much. Maybe I can move things here and there. I can't really pick anything. But if I had 2, maybe I can grab something, right? Hold something. If I had 3 with this thumb, see how important this thumb is? If I don't have this thumb, I can't write. I can grab a pen and I can write. That's how important this thumb is. Imagine not having this thumb and just fingers. You won't be able to do much. If I had 4, then I'll be able to grab, let's say a ball or something and throw it. If I had 5, then, and if I had all 10 in both hands, 5 in each, there's nothing that I cannot do that a normal human being can with these 2 hands. No one in the life and the history has ever said, I wish I had more than 10 fingers. I wish I had 11, 12, 13 fingers so I would have been able to do this or that. 10 is maximum that Allah gave you as far as your fingers are concerned. There's nothing beyond your ability that you cannot do with these 10 fingers. So maybe that is the reason a salat which reaches number of 10 congregants, there's no way of putting a value onto it. So our deen is a deen of jama'at. Our deen is a deen of congregation. Our deen is not an individual deen. We need to include others. In the story of the time of one of the prophets, most likely Prophet Shu'aib ﷺ, that we find there were 100,000 people in it. 60,000 people were good doers. They fulfilled the commands of Hazrat Shu'aib, they listened to him, and they followed his teachings, and they believed in one God. But 40,000 of them were bad people, evildoers. It was said to him that Allah will send azab on the entire ummah. All 100,000 will suffer. Prophet of Allah questioned, oh Allah, majority are good, 60% are good doers. It's the 40% that are bad. Why not just send azab on the 40%? Allah said these 60 are, part of that azab, or that evil that 40% are doing. Because they failed to perform their duty of Amr bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. Therefore, they will suffer along with them as well. They had an ample amount of opportunity to convince and live as a congregation and jama'at, but they failed to do so. So don't be surprised who takes you along with them. It is your duty as follower of this deen that you're not just for yourself. You have to keep in mind others as well. And you need to provide guidance to them as well if you have some sort of guidance to yourself. يُخْرِجُونَهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. We don't want you to go ahead and guide people so that we are demographically more and large in numbers. Nobody's saying that you start making and converting people to madhab tashayyuh. No. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ. Even when it comes to those who are misguided Muslims. Nobody's telling you to go ahead and actively do da'wah and promote the religion and convert people. It would be nice if you did this, task for the sake of Islam. But no one's expecting that. All you're expected is يخرجونهم من الظلمات إلى النور. When you provide guidance to them, not with the mindset of converting, with the mindset of bringing them out of darkness to light. You don't want to leave anyone in darkness. Let them suffer. Let them die. Let them go ahead and feel whatever they're feeling. If you see someone who's suffering, literally suffering, someone who's had an accident, for example, and the accident took place and you saw it, you were witness to it, do you leave that person suffering over there? Or your human nature kicks in and tells you, no, you gotta help this man. This man is injured. He needs to be helped to the hospital so that he can survive. If he stayed there in this situation, because he himself cannot make it to the hospital, he will die. Your human nature kicks in. You go ahead and help him out. Even if you are going for a very important meeting, even if you're going for a very important cause, you'll forget that cause because now there's a human who's suffering. So when you see someone physically suffering, your instincts tell you to go help them. Now people are spiritually struggling and they're suffering. The rise of suicides amongst the teenagers, the rise of usage of drugs in order to remove themselves from, the worries, because they are going through depression, they're going through different things. They're taking a ton of pills so they can be off depression. This is where a few good, genuine words and talk with someone who speaks to them nicely, gently, and listens to them will go a long, long way. That's why these therapists, why do we recommend them? Because they listen to their patients. They talk to them. They relieve them of their pains. They want them to talk themselves out of committing suicide or having thoughts about suicide. So that's what your duty is as religion. I know tonight you just want to remember the tragedy of Karbala. Inshallah, I will continue on this topic tomorrow, Deen and our duties toward it. Just to give you a background as to what we will be discussing about it. There are 5 possible things that we need to perform as far as our duties are concerned. First duty toward this deen is ma'rifat of this deen. Second duty towards this deen is taslim kamil of this deen. Third duty towards this deen is tarwij deen wa taksir pehrawan deen. Fourth duty is difa' az deen wa hifz azamat deen. And the fifth duty is mubarize ba tahrif hay dini wa munkarat. Inshallah, tomorrow, or not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, tomorrow will be the day of Ashura. If we have opportunity, inshallah, we'll cover these 5 things as far as our duties toward this deen are concerned. Tonight, I want to bring you back to Karbala. In order to understand, just imagine. Maybe you need to close your eyes. Close your eyes and take yourselves to the plains of Karbala. Many of you have visited. Many of you have seen the haram of Imam Hussain. But now imagine that plains of Karbala without the haram of Imam Hussain. Just a big desert. On one side you have Euphrates, Furat running. And then there's this battlefield in between. And then where have the Mukhayyam, Khayyam Hussaini, they still have that place marked on the east side of the haram of Imam Hussain. That's where all of the Mukhayyam were. And so there's not a long distance between that Nahr al-Qama and eventually toward Euphrates. But because it was blocked, the water was not accessible. It's been 2 days because water was cut off from the night of 7th. The mothers who have brought their kids to this Majlis Aza, if there are any sisters who are sitting with their young kids, what do you do when you go to any gathering in your masjid, in your Imam Barak, in your Husainiya, or whenever you're traveling with your kids? What do? You bring enough milk and you bring enough water for the kids. Because you and I can survive, but the kids and infants, the toddlers, when they demand something, especially water or milk, and when they're crying for it, there's nothing that you can do but to provide them with it because they're genuinely hungry. They're genuinely thirsty. But if you don't have it, how would a mother feel? A father would say, oh, I'll go get it. And then he'll leave the tent or he'll leave the house. He'll wander around looking for it to kill maybe an hour or two. But the mother is constantly paying attention to the baby, trying to caress, trying to calm him, trying to, read lullabies. Maybe they will find some sort of comfort. But you have milk and water available. The moment your baby cries, you give it to them. But hey, in Karbala, these mothers who have these young kids, and Rabab, who has a son by the name Ali Asghar, who's only 6 months old, he's in need of milk and water. There's no milk and there's no water available since the 7th of Muharram. Imam ﷺ, when he was visiting these different tents on the night of Ashura, Imam came to a tent where he heard Rabab weeping. He enters, Rabab sees Imam Hussain, gets up. Oh Mawla, you're here. Imam says, oh Rabab, what's making you cry? He says, Mawla, everyone has a sacrifice tomorrow, but who am I going to sacrifice? I have a 4-year-old daughter, and daughters and women are not allowed to take part in jihad. And I have a 6-month-old son who can barely crawl, let alone going to the battlefield. Ajrukum Allah. Imam then says to her, Rabab, don't underestimate the shahadat and the sacrifice of your daughter, who will bring a revolution in Sham. And those who are now the rulers of Sham, they will be forgotten, and people will visit your daughter in that city. So she will bring a revolution. And as far as your 6-month-old is concerned, don't worry about it either, because his sacrifice will be superior to the sacrifice of his brother Ali Akbar. Rabab right away feels much relief that she has something to give as sacrifice to Imam Hussain. When all of the companions were martyred, all of the Jawanan and Banu Hashim were martyred, Imam raised istaghasa. He says, Hal min nasirin yansuruna. When he raised this istaghasa, one of the reactions was that there was this crying in one of the tents. Imam rushes back because he was already in Maqtal. He comes back and he says to Zainab, oh Zainab, why are the women crying? I'm still alive. Zainab said, oh Mawla, the moment you said Hal min nasirin yansuruna, your 6-month-old threw himself from the cradle to the ground. Ali Asghar fell from his cradle to the ground. He jumped from the cradle. Imam understood. Jazba shahadat is in Ali Asghar as well. He picks up the son. Now he can't tell that he's taking him to fight. No one will allow that. So Imam said, I'll go ask for some water. Janab Rabab gives Imam Hussain the 6-month-old. The little daughter of Imam Hussain is looking with hasrat that Mawla, my father, is taking my brother for water. She feels good that his thirst will be quenched, but she's feeling herself that her uncle, her Amu, Abul Fazl Abbas, could not bring water for her. Imam takes Ali Asghar in his hands and Imam goes towards Maqtal. Umar Asad and his people see that Hussein is coming and there's something in his arms. As soon as Imam approaches, he picks up, he lifts his son and he says to the people, O enemies, O people of Kufa, you have come to shed my blood, but what has my young 6-month-old has done to you? He's been hungry and thirsty for the past 3 days. It's difficult for our adults to go ahead and suffer the pain of thirst and hunger for 3 days, let alone a 6-month-old. Have some mercy on this 6-month-old. Socrates was asked, is there anything worse and more difficult than death? Socrates responded by saying, yes, there is. When Karim ibn Karim, when someone who's noble and Karim is asking from someone who's La'im. Imam Hussain is Karim ibn Karim, and he's asking these ashqiya, these enemies who are La'im and worse than La'im, to go ahead and help him with his son. They do not respond. When Imam put Ali Asghar down, he said, you think that I want water for myself? I'll put my son on the ground. There was a ground which was hot, which was baking hot. Imam places Ali Asghar onto this burning desert, and then Imam backs away. He says, oh Ali Asghar, I have done my part. Now it's your turn to do Itmam Hujjat. The little 6-month-old gets the message from his father. He rubs his dry tongue onto his dry lips. The enemy is watching this carefully. Many people in the army of Umar Asad, they turn their faces away. They start weeping, they start crying, they can't bear to see this scene. And then right away Umar Asad says to Harmala, Iqta kalam al-Hussein, cut off the kalam of Hussein, because if he continued, all of my army will turn against me. Harmala, who was so precise in his shooting arrows, he takes a 3-pronged arrow and he points at Ali Asghar. He would never miss his spot, his target, but for the first time he missed his target. He missed Ali Asghar. He said, you'd have never missed. Umar Asad told him. He took another arrow out. This was also 3-pronged. He shot again towards Ali Asghar and then he missed again. Umar Asad said to him, oh Harmala, what is wrong with you? I have never seen you miss twice. He says, what should I do? That every time I pull this arrow, I'm looking over there. There's a lady who's covered in black. She's maybe looking at me and she's saying, this is my 6-month-old. Be gentle with him. This arrow is bigger than his body. He takes the 3rd arrow. He does not miss this time. The arrow pierces. Imam had picked up the body of Ali Asghar when they did not bring any water. The body that was picked up, as soon as the arrow traveled toward the neck of Ali Asghar, pierces his neck, touches the arm of Imam. Blood gushes out. Blood gushes out. Imam takes the blood in his hands. He wants to drop it onto the ground. He hears the sound from the earth that, oh Hussein, if a single drop falls on the ground, never will the crop will be grown from this land. Imam wanted to throw it into the sky. The sky is called, oh Hussein, if a single drop made it to us, there will never rain again. Imam took the blood, he rubbed it on his face. Imam alayhi salatu was salam, he rubbed the blood Imam took the body of this 6-month-old. He's walking back towards the tent. He cannot go back to the mother of Ali Asghar that I brought your son for a sip of water and he has been killed. Hussein instead goes around the tent and digs up a grave, buries 6-month-old in it, and then he comes to Rubab. Oh Rubab, your amanat that you had given to me, I have come back. The little daughter of Imam, upon hearing this, comes running out from the tent. She says, oh Baba, Ali Asghar was dear to you. You quenched his thirst. He drank water. Your daughter is still thirsty. Imam removes the abba, shows the blood of Ali Asghar.
لوی کوچیک تو شده غرق خون، خنجرت شد برای 3 شعبه نشون، دست بابا میلرزه شده لاله گون.